The red light blinked, and I exhaled the lie I had swallowed for years. Ava Cole said, "The first time I lied to my followers, I told myself it was harmless." The ring light hummed like a siren over a wreck. The apartment smelled of dust and old coffee. Traffic hissed outside as if the city wanted the confession too. Ava Cole said, "That single post was the seed that ruined me." I watched my face flatten into the persona that made me money. The smile looked rented, and the eyes looked tired. Jenna Park said, "You can still stop this," in a text I did not open. My phone vibrated like a trapped moth on the desk. Marcus Vale had trained me to look soft and safe when scared. Ava Cole said, "I faked authenticity to sell comfort to strangers." The words tasted like iron and regret. My hand shook, and the camera steadied me like a judge. Ava Cole said, "I know you loved her, but she was a story." Rain stitched the window with silver threads. The crowd roared inside my head and demanded another perfect answer. The ghost whispered that I should finally be real. The chair creaked like an old confession booth. Ava Cole said, "You met me in a Q&A where questions looked honest. I picked the soft ones and staged the hard ones. The title promised truth, and I delivered performance. My kitchen counter was my altar, and the ring light was my god." Ava Cole said, "I learned the camera's favorite angles and my soul's lease." The crowd asked about morning routines and healing. I filmed a smoothie I did not drink, and a run I did not take. Ava Cole said, "I shot the run twice and posted the second. I cut my fear into friendly captions. The algorithm rewarded my little sins with reach. I called it strategy and not hunger." Ava Cole said, "I answered loneliness with filters and affiliate links. The silence after upload felt like space between beats. Then the likes hit and the heart restarted. I told myself that kindness could be edited in later. The first lie was small enough to carry in a caption." Ava Cole said, "I told them I was okay. I was not okay, and the comments section proved it. They loved my resilience, and I loved their love. I kept giving them versions that hurt less to hold." Ava Cole said, "I deleted questions that cut too close. I told myself boundaries were healthy, and then I sold them. My confessions were props with good lighting." Ava Cole said, "I cried off camera and sold calm on camera. Crowd said they saw themselves in me. They did not know I was playing them like a mirror. The mirror cracked when I forgot who I was without them." Ava Cole said, "I became fluent in survival hashtags. The phone warmed my hand like a fever. It cooled down only when the views peak. The second lie wore kindness like perfume." Ava Cole said, "I partnered with a brand I never used. I called it empowerment and cashed a check. My manager wrote lines that tasted like chalk." Ava Cole said, "I told them it changed my life in a week. It did not change my life, and it strained theirs." Comments stacked like prayers to a plastic god. The crowd said they trusted me with their wallets. I felt the weight of 1,000 carts clicking. Ava Cole said, "I filmed B-roll like a confession, crossed with a commercial. I smiled at a bottle and frowned at my reflection. I am Tommy Greaves, nuanced." Marcus Vale's voice lived in the edit timeline. Ava Cole said, he said, "Conversion is compassion if the product calms fear." I nodded and muted the part where I gagged. The third lie was the mask that never came off. Ava Cole said, "I told them I loved the spotlight. I loved the shelter it gave my fear. The ring light hid the parts of me that shook." Ava Cole said, "I filmed at night so my panic sounded like quiet. I edited out the gasps between answers. I brightened the frame and darkened the truth." The crowd thanked me for being real. I thanked them for letting me disappear in plain sight. Ava Cole said, "I made honesty a costume and wore it daily. I felt holy and hollow at once. When the uploads slowed, my hands twitched for a fix." Ava Cole said, "I promised a deeper video soon. I did not know it would cut this deep." Morning arrived like a weak apology. Ava Cole said, when the ring light dies, the room feels bigger and I feel smaller. The ceiling paint mapped old leaks like scars. I counted them to slow my pulse. The kettle clicked and did not boil. Ava Cole said, I kept thinking about the first time a million people said goodnight to me. The glow was a tide that carried me, and then left me beached. I kept shells of kindness in my DMs and ignored the knives. Jenna Park said, eat something before you open the app. I nodded and tasted cardboard toast. The quiet was honest and it hurt. Ava Cole said, I did not know what my face looked like when no one watched. The mirror watched anyway and did not applaud. The city stretched outside like a stage without lights. I missed the roar and feared it too. Ava Cole said, I wanted to be held by truth, not numbers. My hands shook around a chipped mug. The steam rose and vanished before it reached me. I scrolled the archives like a pilgrim in a temple of me. Ava Cole said, every thumbnail smiled harder than I remember. The teeth were bright and the eyes were tired. I recognized the set and not the person. Ava Cole said, I read comments that said I saved their mornings. I wanted to be the kind of saving that was real. The ghost whispered that I once liked art without cameras. I tried to picture the first sketchbook I abandoned. Jenna Park said, you were funny before you were polished. I laughed, and it sounded like furniture being moved. Ava Cole said, I made a list of things I used to love. I wrote libraries, late buses, thrift vinyl, rain on metal awnings. The list felt like a door I had locked from the outside. The algorithm knocked from the hallway. Ava Cole said, I do not know if the door still opens. The handle felt warm and familiar. My thumb hovered like a traitor over upload. The inbox was a crowded cathedral of need. Ava Cole said, I used to answer every plea with a bright bow. I tied advice to strangers I could not carry myself. The crowd said they trusted my mornings more than their mothers. I wanted to earn that trust, and I also wanted sleep. Ava Cole said, a girl wrote that my calm stopped her from shaking. I stared at the word shaking until it blurred. I worried what would happen if I said I was shaking too. Jenna Park said, you can be human without being broken on camera. The sentence sat like a chair I was afraid to use. Ava Cole said, I told them to breathe 5 counts and release. I did the same and counted 6. The silence tasted like a clean glass. Somewhere a siren passed and did not stop. Ava Cole said, I want to be useful without pretending to be unhurt. The cursor blinked like a patient heartbeat. I met Jenna at a diner that still believed in jukebox coins. Ava Cole said, I needed a room where my name was not a brand. The formica was clean and honest. Coffee arrived strong enough to wake regret. Jenna Park said, you do not owe the internet your pulse. I stirred and watched a tiny storm form in the cup. Ava Cole said, I do not know who I am when I stop performing. Jenna's eyes held the kind of silence that does not accuse. The server called us honey, and it felt like mercy. Ava Cole said, I keep holding the mask like a relic. Jenna Park said, what if you set it down and just let it be heavy on the table? The mask was invisible yet loud. I imagined it clattering next to the sugar caddy. Ava Cole said, if I am not her, will anyone stay? Jenna Park said, start with me. The jukebox changed songs, and the room exhaled. At twilight, I walked without headphones and counted breaths with streetlights. Ava Cole said, the city sounded like it had its own lungs. I matched the rhythm until my chest loosened. A bus sighed, and children laughed in a language my feed never spoke. The ghost whispered that I danced once in a parking lot rain. I tried a step and did not break. Ava Cole said, maybe I am not the ruins, maybe I am the scaffolding. The crowd inside me quieted like a theater after curtain. My phone vibrated, and I let it. Jenna Park said, you can call later. The sky is calling now. The clouds blushed, and the neon woke slow. Ava Cole said, I want a life that still works when the battery dies. The street smelled like warm pretzels and wet concrete. I tasted salt and something like beginning. The night did not demand a post. The week began with a brand deck that smelled like money and threat. Ava Cole said, they want a morning routine that looks like a baptism. The brief promised purity and profit. Marcus Vale said, we launch at dawn and own the day. His smile was a lock I had learned to open. I nodded while my stomach folded into sharp corners. The crowd waited with empty mugs and open wallets. Ava Cole said, I am not a priest and this is not salvation. He slid a clause that clawed at my throat. Marcus Vale said, authenticity means you read the script like it's yours. The word yours stung like citrus in a cut. My inbox chimed with a fan who trusted my skin more than her mirror. Ava Cole said, if I lie again, her face will pay for it. He watched the conflict rise like heat off asphalt. Marcus Vale said, you're not lying, you're framing. The word framing sounded like bars. I pictured the ring light as a cage and me singing for seed. Rehearsal tasted like chalk again. Ava Cole said, I can feel the script on my tongue like lint. I tried a smile that landed crooked. Jenna Park said, we can revise the copy to something true. Her eyes were soft, but her notes were sharp. The clock smirked at us from the wall. Ava Cole said, truth and deadline do not share a bed. The camera blinked in slow judgment. I placed the serum where the light made it look sacred. Jenna Park said, say what it actually does and nothing more. My pulse knocked in my wrists like a trapped bird. Marcus Vale texted numbers that hummed like a hive. Ava Cole said, I don't want to be a wasp dressed as a butterfly. The AC coughed cold air and the ring light warmed my skin. Jenna Park said, if you break toward real. I took a breath so measured it felt like surgery. The live stream was a room made of breath. Ava Cole said, hi, I missed you, and the chat bloomed like confetti. Hearts swarmed the screen, and I felt both fed and hunted. The crowd said, I glowed. They did not see the ring light reflected in my fear. A question asked about the breakup I never admitted. Ava Cole said, we chose quiet over spectacle. It was neat and untrue. Another asked about the brand on my counter. Marcus Vale said, pivot, praise and pass, through a text that hissed. Jenna Park said, answer what you can live with later. I picked words like stepping stones over a flood. Ava Cole said, I use it some mornings when my skin is loud. The chat roared approval, and my gut muttered no. Emojis tossed roses and knives in the same second. I smiled like a lighthouse cut from paper. After the stream I opened a DM that cracked like ice. Ava Cole said she bought the serum with grocery money. Her receipt sat like a bruise. The message said it stung, and she felt foolish. My chest filled with old static. Jenna Park said, we'll refund her and flag the batch. The brand replied with legal fog that smelled like rubber. Marcus Vale said, one refund becomes a headline if you let it. I pictured 1,000 small stings becoming a storm. Ava Cole said, if harm is the price of my rent, then I owe too much. The ghost whispered that I once gave advice for free and slept fine. My hands hovered over reply like birds choosing a wire. Ava Cole said, I am sorry, and I will make this right. The send button looked like a cliff. I jumped. Morning came with headlines I didn't write. Ava Cole said, a rival clipped my stream and fed it to the wolves. The shadows smiled in a stitched montage that made me look hollow. My words bent under cruel lighting. Marcus Vale said, we counter-program with a bigger launch. The plan felt like speeding into fog. Jenna Park said, or we slow down and bleed the poison out. The emails split into praise and fire. Ava Cole said, I am tired of fighting with a mask on. The shadow said, step aside and let a real one win, in a caption that burned. I stood in the bathroom and watched my face choose. Ava Cole said, I would rather lose loud with the truth than win quiet with a lie. The mirror did not flinch. Outside, sirens stitched the morning together. I opened the Notes app like a clean wound. The folder was named like a joke that forgot to laugh. Ava Cole said, Persona brief. Vaughn was dated months before my first upload. My stomach fell through the chair and kept falling. The PDF listed catchphrases I thought I invented. Marcus Vale said, audiences respond to wounded courage and playful grit. I read a chart that mapped my smile to conversion. Photos looked like me before I was me. Ava Cole said, someone cast me in a role I never auditioned for. The ghost whispered that I was a stand-in for a market need. I scrolled to a slide titled Authenticity, Scripting. Ava Cole said, even my pauses were rehearsed by people I never met. The crowd loved the pauses most. Jenna Park said, we should talk before you assume. The word, assume, felt like a lid on a boiling pot. Ava Cole said, who wrote my heart before I had the pen? The ring light hummed as if it recognized its architect. I called Marcus and the dial tone paced like a lawyer. Ava Cole said, tell me why my voice exists on a slide deck. Paper rustled like wings in a trap. Marcus Vale said, we shaped demand, you supplied it. His calm scraped my nerves into sparks. I read the line that labeled me approachable trauma. Ava Cole said, you named me like a product on a shelf. He sighed the way executives sigh before a bonus. Marcus Vale said, we found you drowning and gave you a boat. The boat looked like a gilded cage with oars. The crowd did not know the water was arranged. Ava Cole said, I wanted love, not scaffolding. He tapped his pen, as if scoring my heartbeat. Marcus Vale said the market wanted a saint who sinned softly. The phrase lodged like a pebble in my throat. I hung up before the silence invoiced me. Jenna arrived with the kind of quiet that breaks chairs. Ava Cole said, tell me you didn't know. She looked at the floor like it might forgive her. Jenna Park said, I knew pieces, and I glued them for you. My chest felt stitched with fishing line. She slid a phone across the table with a burner login. Jenna Park said, I fed the shadow just enough to keep her close. The sentence burned like bleach in the lungs. Ava Cole said, you bartered my hurt for her silence. Jenna's hands shook, and the screen lit our faces like confession. Jenna Park said, Marcus promised stability if I kept the fires controlled. The word controlled stacked into a wall. Ava Cole said, you were my lighthouse. Jenna Park said, I was also the fog. And I am sorry. The kettle screamed, though no water boiled. The ghost whispered that love can be a lever too. The shadow posted a montage that felt like an autopsy. Ava Cole said, she stitched my pauses to your bullet points. The comment split into hymns and stones. The clip ended on a contract signature that wasn't mine. Jenna Park said, they licensed your likeness before you signed. The word licensed turned my name into plastic. Marcus Vale said, you consented when you kept cashing the checks. I looked at a clause that predated my first yes. Ava Cole said, the person you adored online wasn't me. The crowd gasped in pixels and then bit down. Laws threatened like weather over open water. Jenna Park said, we can walk into the storm or wait to drown. I opened a blank post that glared like noon. Ava Cole said, if I vanish, the lie wins twice. My finger hovered over publish and shook like a bridge. I read the brief aloud until it sounded like someone else's obituary. Ava Cole said, I was built to be bought and easy to forgive. The sentence tasted like aluminum. The ghost whispered that my first sketchbook had no sponsors. I pictured charcoal under nails and music with no chorus of comments. Ava Cole said, They tuned my pain to a key that sells. The room felt crowded with versions of me. Jenna Park said, "Name the truth and take back your throat." My lungs opened like a door in summer. The crowd would not like this melody. Ava Cole said, "I may lose the stage, but I will keep the voice." Marcus Vale said, "You will burn your bridges and your brand." I imagined walking across ash to something quiet and alive. Ava Cole said, "I was a ghost they hired. Now I am a body that refuses." The ring light clicked off like a verdict. The day of the statement opened like a wound no bandage could hold. Ava Cole said, "If I bleed, let it be for something I can live with." The cursor blinked like a metronome for panic. Jenna Park said, "Short, clear, accountable, and human." I wrote that I had lied, that harm happened, that refunds were coming. The words shook but stood up straight. Marcus Vale said, "Delay 48 hours, and we redirect the narrative." The word redirect felt like a hand over my mouth. The shadow posted flames and called it truth. The crowd gathered with buckets of gasoline and water. Ava Cole said, "I will not let someone else decide the weather inside me." I pressed publish, and the room dropped a degree. Notifications hit like hail on a tin roof. Jenna Park said, "Stay with me and breathe on the fours." I breathed and counted until tears cooled. The post kept loading, and then it was out in the world. Ava Cole said, "Whatever burns, let the lie burn first." Silence answered. Then the sirens came online. The first comments landed like cautious birds. I thanked the brave ones and braced for knives. Ava Cole said, "I will not hide my hands from the cut." The phone vibrated without rhythm, then settled into a drum. I kept my spine against the chair like a beam. The brand's legal thread arrived like winter in my inbox. Marcus Vale said, "We can still salvage tier 2 if you retract." The word retract scratched the roof of my mouth. Ava Cole said, "I will clarify, not erase." He warned of breach and damages, as if empathy were theft. The crowd split into a choir and a riot. Jenna Park said, "We'll log every refund and every complaint." She opened a spreadsheet like a field hospital. I recorded a follow-up in plain light with no music. Ava Cole said, "I sold you certainty I never owned, and I am sorry." I explained testing, risks, and how to stop using the product. I apologized to the girl with the stinging cheeks by name. The ghost whispered that the first truth is always clumsy. The video exported while my stomach climbed the stairs in my throat. The shadow clipped my apology and laughed between cuts. Marcus Vale said, "Pity doesn't convert. Spectacle does." Ava Cole said, "I choose care over conversion." The send bar crawled forward like a stubborn sunrise. Jenna Park said, "Then we stand in daylight and do the paperwork." I nodded and raised my face to the glare. The comments reloaded and brought a slow, aching warmth. My hands shook, but the shake did not own the message. The live stream for the apology felt like walking into weather. Ava Cole said, "If you came to watch me break, you might see me mend." Hearts rose, knives glinted, and the chat boiled. A pinned comment accused me of exploiting pain as content. Ava Cole said, "I exploited silence, now I am making noise you can use." I read the safety steps again and linked resources. The crowd demanded receipts and photos of rashes. I held space and promised private channels for help. The shadows alt seeded doubt like dandelions on concrete. Jenna Park said, "Slow your breath. Answer only what keeps people safe." A boy typed that his sister stopped using it because of me. My ribs loosened a notch so air could live there. Marcus Vale said, "Pull the stream. You are giving away the frame." Ava Cole said, "Let the frame go if the picture saves someone." A troll dropped my address and the room tilted. Jenna Park said, "Ending now," locking comments, moving to email. I signed off with a voice that was frayed, but still threaded. The screen went black, and the quiet rang like a bell. I cried into my sleeves and did not mute the sound. A siren passed and did not stop for me. I sat up straighter and wrote a list titled Aftercare. I wrote water, food, refunds, and rest in that order. Marcus arrived with cologne and a hurricane in a suit. Marcus Vale said, "You burned a quarter and asked me to smile." Ava Cole said, "I burned rot." He paced like a salesman at a funeral. His briefcase clicked open and spilled numbers like bones. Marcus Vale said, "This is reputation triage, not confession hour." Ava Cole said, "People are more than metrics on a slab." He raised a contract that smelled like hot plastic. Marcus Vale said, "Sign this addendum, and we spin you as brave." The word brave broke under his mouth. Jenna Park said, "We want release and mutual non-disparagement." He laughed and called it influencer fantasy. Ava Cole said, "Then sue me in daylight." The ghost whispered that courage tastes like copper first. He reached for the framed headshot, then set it down. Marcus Vale said, "You will not survive without me." Ava Cole said, "Watch me survive with fewer mirrors." He left the door open like a dare. The apartment inhaled, slow and wide, like a chest freed from tape. I closed the door and the click sounded like a vote. I slid the contract under a stack of zines. The paper looked smaller when trapped by ink and staples. My hands shook and then steadied around a glass of water. Night fell with a crowd outside my comments. Ava Cole said, "I hear you, and I will keep hearing you." The crowd chanted cancel and keep her in the same breath. The shadow surfaced receipts labeled mercy and malice. I posted proof of refunds, and the inbox bloomed with more pain. Jenna Park said, "We will keep the lights on, and the lines open." I agreed and turned the ring light off anyway. Silence crouched on the desk and watched me. Ava Cole said the cancellation didn't break me. The silence tried. I waited inside the hush until my pulse returned. Marcus Vale said, "Final offer. Apology tour with exclusives." Ava Cole said, "I am done selling my regret by the ounce." A bot farm pushed a smear that tasted like rust. Neighbors argued in the hall, and life forgot my drama. The ghost whispered that stillness is a teacher with few words. I lay on the rug and let the storm pass through. The phone buzzed with a message from the girl I named. She said her skin was healing, and she slept. Ava Cole said, "One night is enough to keep going." I closed my eyes and let the dark be only night. The ceiling fan traced patient circles above me. My breath found their rhythm and stayed. The city hummed without asking me to perform. Morning felt like a soft bandage that knew it could not heal everything. Ava Cole said, "Today I archive the mask and keep the face." I brewed coffee and watched steam loosen the night. The inbox groaned, then settled. Jenna Park said, "We'll close the refunds by noon." I nodded and opened the dashboard like a window. Old thumbnails blinked at me like polite ghosts. Ava Cole said, "You fed me well, but I cannot live on sugar." I set every sponsorship to inactive. The silence that followed was clean. The crowd stirred with questions I could finally answer. Ava Cole said, "I will not sell you a cure. I will learn with you." A small thrill rose like sun over scaffolding. The ghost whispered that pencils never lied to paper. I placed a sketchbook where the ring light used to sit. Ava Cole said, "A different kind of light will do." I backed up receipts and breathed between folders. Jenna Park said, "You sound like a person again." The words landed like rain on warm stone. I let them soak and did not post. By noon, the lawyer's office smelled like toner and tired victories. Ava Cole said, "I want a clean exit and my name back." The attorney sharpened clauses into little keys. Marcus Vale said, "Mutual release if you stop the bleeding now." The phrase tasted like gauze. Jenna Park said, "We reject gag language and prewritten contrition." The negotiation moved like slow traffic in heat. Ava Cole said, "You built a boat from my wounds and charged me for oars." He didn't flinch, but the assistant did. Paper slid across oak like a cold tide. The pen felt heavier than a microphone ever did. Jenna said, "Initial here to remove the hooks." I signed where freedom hid under small print. Marcus Vale said, "You'll regret walking away from Scale." Ava Cole said, "Scale cannot carry a conscience." The attorney stamped final, and the sound rang clean. My pulse steadied as if it found its own lawyer. We stepped into daylight that did not sell anything. The city exhaled and let me belong without a pitch. I walked to the library where quiet knows my name. Ava Cole said, "I came here before algorithms learned my face." The stacks smelled like paper and older weather. I opened the sketchbook and drew my coffee cup badly. The ghost whispered, pleased, "That bad is a door." A girl in a beanie approached like a held breath. She said she stopped the serum and kept the playlist. I thanked her and thanked the playlist. Ava Cole said, "I don't deserve your grace, but I will earn your trust." She smiled like a lamp without glare. The crowd here was just one person, and it was enough. Jenna said, "You look lighter even when you sit." I traced rain on the window and let lines wobble. The page did not ask for a caption. Ava Cole said, "Maybe my voice can be ink for a while." The ghost hummed and turned a corner of me warm. I closed the sketchbook, and it felt like closing hands in prayer. Outside, the street sounded like a promise with no sponsor. That evening I recorded without makeup, music, or safety words. Ava Cole said, "I am making a series called Aftermath." The title sat plain and did not pose. I promised no links, no codes, no tricks. Jenna said, "We pin resources and unpin ego." I spoke about harm, repair, and how to ask better questions. The camera listened like a friend who doesn't fix you. Ava Cole said, "If you came for polish, you might leave with practice." I offered a weekly check-in with no monetized ladder. The crowd might shrink, and I would let them. The ghost whispered that small rooms carry songs farther. I left pauses that were not edited thin. Ava Cole said, "Silence can be part of the sentence." I ended with a breath you could hear. Jenna said, "We can keep comments open with boundaries." I agreed, and locked the door on cruelty. The upload bar rose like a tide that did not threaten. I watched it reach shore, and did not brace for waves. Near midnight, I climbed the roof to meet a sky that never asks for thumbnails. Ava Cole said, "I thought I wanted to be remembered. Now, I want to be real." The wind smelled like iron and leftover rain. Downtown pulsed like a heart I did not need to own. The shadow posted a jab that landed far below. It fluttered and fell like a paper knife. Jenna said, "You can log off. The stars are still logged on." I laughed, and the sound did not bounce off glass. Ava Cole said, "If tomorrow is quiet, I will listen." The ghost stood beside me like a sister returned. She pointed to nothing and meant everything. The crowd faded to a soft murmur I could bless. I placed the ring light in a box without ceremony. Ava Cole said some tools are good until they aren't. My phone slept, and the night did not wake it. I breathed a count of 4, and let it double on release. The city blinked, and I blinked back without performing. I went downstairs, ready for a smaller, truer room. Morning held its breath. Ava Cole said, "I packed the pieces I can carry." I closed the dashboard and felt the room return to size. The crowd hummed like a distant highway. Jenna said, "Leave a light on for yourself." I wrote 3 lines about harm, repair, and limits. Ava Cole said, "I will not be rented again." The ghost stood near the window with bare feet and a quiet grin. I ate toast without photographing it. Ava Cole said, "I owe the truth more than I owe attention." The kettle clicked and stayed honest. I opened a blank page not meant for them. The silence did not argue. Ava Cole said, "I'm done rehearsing pain." I placed the ring light in the closet and locked the door gently. The city stretched but did not summon me. My hands were finally only mine. We met on the stoop where news travels slowly. Jenna Park said, I'm here if quiet feels sharp. I nodded and let the day rest on my shoulders. Ava Cole said, I choose the small room with real air. She squeezed my hand like a vote counted right. A passing dog sneezed and made us laugh. The laugh fit. Ava Cole said, no tours, no spin, just work and rest. The ghost traced a sunbeam across the step. Jenna Park said, when you speak again, let it be for you. I tucked the words into my pocket. Ava Cole said, tell the ones who stayed that I heard them. The street was ordinary and sacred. The door behind us did not need applause. I opened the inbox one last time. Ava Cole said, thank you for the courage you loaned me. Messages stacked like folded letters. The crowd said, stay, go, heal, vanish. I chose heal. I sent refunds that missed the first sweep. Ah. Ava Cole said, no one owes me forgiveness. I archived the hate without swallowing it. Jenna Park said, close the door gently. I breathed until the ribs made room for air. The ghost whispered that endings can be quiet and still count. I signed out everywhere and felt a floor under my feet. Ava Cole said, what remains will be real. The cursor stopped blinking. The screen became a mirror and did not lie. At the mirror, I met the witness who never left. Ava Cole said, you can come back now. The ghost stepped forward and fit inside my chest like a key. I traced the curve of a scar I had edited away. Ava Cole said, I am not merchandise. The faucet hissed and forgave the day. Jenna Park texted a heart and nothing else. It was enough. Ava Cole said, I will build a life that does not need captions. The mirror held me without an audience. I breathed until my face felt like a place. The ghost whispered yes, and I believed her. I set the camera on the table like a relic. Ava Cole said, this is the last post. The room listened. I thanked the ones who wrote with kindness and the ones who challenged the lie. Ava Cole said, I want a life that still works when you aren't watching. The words were light and heavy at once. I stood, opened the window, and let the city breathe through me. Ava Cole said, and that's why you'll never see me online again. The silence that followed felt like a door clicking shut and a field opening wide. I walked into the field.